No one expected a storm to hit a courtroom drama. Yet one Thursday morning, Hollywood woke up to headlines that felt like a plot twist ripped from Matlock itself. David Del Rio, the charming young attorney viewers had watched argue impossible cases beside. Kathy Bates was suddenly gone. No farewell post, no cryptic Instagram story, just silence. In a single, chilling line across entertainment news, Matlock actor David Del Rio fired after alleged sexual assault. For a few hours, fans thought it was a misunderstanding, but by midday, major outlets confirmed it. Del Rio was out, effective immediately. Crew members described the Paramount lot as tense and frozen in disbelief. One moment, he was rehearsing lines for the next courtroom showdown. The next, his trailer door slammed shut, his name erased from the call sheet. The timing couldn't have been worse. Season 2 of Matlock was in full swing, poised to premiere within days. CBS had invested millions reviving the beloved 80s series with a modern cast, betting on nostalgia and sharp legal drama. Del Rio's exit threatened all of that and raised bigger questions about what really happened behind those studio gates. Insiders whispered that the incident involved co-star Leah Lewis, known for her breakout role in The Half of It and her voice work in Pixar's Elemental. The two had shared nearly every major scene in Matlock's first season, playing ambitious young lawyers under Bates's watchful mentorship. Fans loved their chemistry. It felt effortless, genuine. Maybe too genuine, some said afterward. But when news broke that Lewis had accused Del Rio of misconduct, the warmth viewers once felt toward the pair turned to shock. Rumors spread faster than the official statements could catch up. People on X and Reddit began piecing together timelines, behind-the-scenes photos, even cast interviews that suddenly seemed heavy with subtext. CBS stayed quiet, painfully quiet, while social media filled the silence. In that vacuum, theories multiplied. Some cried cancel culture, others demanded accountability. One fan summed up the collective disbelief perfectly. How does something this dark happen on a set built around justice? In less than 24 hours, Matlock's triumphant comeback had transformed into a PR crisis. In Hollywood, a place that thrives on spectacle was about to get one it never wanted. Because this wasn't just a firing. It was the unraveling of a network's new golden show, and the start of a controversy that would test how far CBS was willing to go to protect its image. But the truth didn't unfold in one statement. It came in fragments, each one darker than the last. Before the headlines, before the whispers, everything about Matlock looked like a Hollywood success story. CBS had found its next prestige hit, a revival of a beloved classic, reimagined for a modern audience. Kathy Bates brought gravitas as the brilliant but unpredictable Maddie Matlock. David Del Rio's character, Billy Martinez, was the rising star of her team, sharp, ambitious, and just arrogant enough to keep things interesting. From the outside, it all seemed perfect. The chemistry between the cast was effortless. Behind-the-scenes photos showed laughter between takes, inside jokes, and smiles that suggested a family rather than a crew. Fans gushed online, calling it the courtroom drama we didn't know we missed. But the thing about Hollywood is, appearances are currency, and perfection often hides pressure. As the show's success grew, so did the tension. Sources close to production said long hours and rewrites created friction among the younger cast members. Some described Del Rio as laser-focused, others as intense to the point of exhaustion. Leah Lewis, balancing her growing film career with back-to-back shooting schedules, reportedly kept to herself. Still, when cameras rolled, none of it showed. Their on-screen partnership was electric. They played colleagues who challenged each other in every scene, and audiences loved it. It was the kind of dynamic producer's dream of genuine connection, quick dialogue, subtle glances that made fans wonder if there was more than just acting. Inside Paramount's glossy hallways, though, small cracks began to form. Crew members noticed mood shifts, quiet arguments, sudden exits from rehearsal rooms, conversations that stopped when someone walked by. No one paid it much attention. In Hollywood, passion and friction often come as a package deal. So when the breaking news hit weeks later, it didn't just surprise the public, it stunned those who thought they knew the cast best. Because what everyone believed was a tight-knit family might have been something far more complicated. The set that once felt like a second home was about to become the center of an unfolding scandal. And then, one ordinary shooting day at the Paramount lot. That fragile calm shattered. It was supposed to be just another shoot day. The sun hit the Paramount lot early that morning, casting long shadows across the trailers. Cast and crew shuffled in, scripts in hand, coffee cups in tow, business as usual. But by noon, whispers had already started. Something had happened. Something serious. According to multiple reports, it was during a break between scenes when Leah Lewis allegedly experienced an encounter with David Del Rio that left her shaken. The details remain sealed. No one outside CBS and the involved parties knows exactly what transpired. But what's clear is that whatever occurred behind closed doors was enough to halt production immediately. Crew members later said they could feel the shift. The laughter, the chatter, the steady rhythm of a normal filming day, all of it vanished. Assistants exchanged worried looks. Someone called security. Within hours, studio executives had arrived on set, their presence signaling something far bigger than a scheduling issue. Leah Lewis reportedly left the lot soon after, escorted by production staff. Del Rio, sources claim, stayed behind briefly, pacing, silent, waiting for a conversation that would never happen. By evening, the network had already begun an internal investigation. CBS Human Resources met with several witnesses, cross-checked reports, and initiated what insiders described as zero-tolerance protocol. By the next morning, the decision was made. Del Rio was removed from the project effective immediately. His trailer was cleared, his scenes suspended, and his name quietly deleted from the call sheets. No press release. No goodbye. Just an empty space where his role used to be. For a show that had just found its rhythm, the disruption was seismic. Season 2 of Matlock was deep in production, with multiple episodes already filmed. Losing a main cast member overnight was more than an inconvenience. It was a creative earthquake. But beyond the logistics, the emotional toll hit harder. Crew members described a mix of confusion and heartbreak. Leah, they said, had been professional but distant since her return. Del Rio's friends in the industry stayed quiet, unsure what to say without making things worse. Asterisk still. The speed of CBS's actions sent a message. This wasn't something they were willing to let drag out. The network had learned from Hollywood's recent history, silence can cost more than scandal. And just like that, the man who once stood in front of the camera, defending fictional clients, was suddenly defending his own reputation. Off-screen, but what truly stunned everyone wasn't the firing itself, it was how fast CBS acted, and how silent the cast remained. When Hollywood drama spills off the screen, every studio has a choice. Respond fast. Or go silent and let the noise burn itself out. CBS chose silence, but not the kind that comes from confusion. It was strategic, deliberate, and cold. Within hours of the internal report, security escorted David Del Rio off the Paramount lot. No cameras, no confrontation, just quiet efficiency. The same afternoon, his keycard was deactivated. His name, once printed neatly on the Matlock call sheet, disappeared from the digital system entirely. Behind closed doors, network executives huddled for emergency meetings. The goal wasn't just to remove an actor, it was to contain a fire before it spread. They knew one leak could become a headline. One headline could become a PR nightmare. So CBS implemented a controlled silence. No official statement, no interviews. No social posts, only a carefully worded, no comment sent to reporters. To outsiders. It looked like the network was avoiding the issue. But insiders said it was textbook damage control. Standard procedure in an era where one misstep can tank a billion-dollar brand. Privately, the message to cast and crew was clear. Stay professional, stay quiet, and stay off social media. The crew's group chats went silent. Emails stopped. Even casual conversations on set were cautious, as if every word could be overheard. A production assistant later described it as like working in a courtroom where everyone had taken a vow of silence. Meanwhile, CBS's legal team got to work. Background checks, NDAs, and witness interviews rolled out. Lawyers reviewed contracts to ensure Del Rio's termination followed protocol. They wanted no cracks in the armor, no opening for a lawsuit or backlash. And all this unfolded while cameras for Matlock were still rolling. The network refused to pause production completely. Instead, they shifted focus to other characters. Rewriting scripts on the fly, pretending everything was fine while everyone knew it wasn't, the silence became deafening. No one outside the lot knew exactly what happened, but everyone could feel the tension. The studio had pulled the plug so fast that the vacuum it left only fueled curiosity. Yet for fans, silence only fuels suspicion, and soon. The internet caught fire with theories, outrage, and endless speculation. It didn't take long for the silence to be filled not by CBS, but by the internet. Within hours of the first whisper hitting entertainment blogs, hashtags began to rise like smoke. #Justice for Leah. #David Del Rio. #Matlock scandal. Each one carried its own story, its own version of the truth. On Reddit's pop culture chat, users pieced together behind-the-scenes photos, fan interviews, and red carpet clips. Analyzing every smile, every glance, every word spoken months earlier. One post claimed Del Rio had seemed off during the show's press junket. Another insisted Leah Lewis had unfollowed him weeks before the news broke. Whether those details meant anything didn't matter. They fit the narrative people wanted to believe. Then came the division. Some defended Leah immediately, praising her courage and demanding accountability. Others rushed to Del Rio's defense, calling the move another case of Hollywood overreaction. The same people who once celebrated their chemistry now turned the comment section into a battleground. On X, short clips of Matlock scenes resurfaced, ones where Del Rio and Lewis argued on screen with captions like this aged differently. TikTok filled with fan theories, some sympathetic, others cruel. YouTubers uploaded explained videos dissecting the controversy frame by frame. In a matter of hours, what had been a workplace investigation became a public trial, one where no one had all the facts. And through it all, CBS stayed silent. That silence only fueled more chaos. The network's refusal to release a statement made people wonder if there was more to hide. Entertainment forums exploded with speculation. Was there footage? Were other cast members involved? Was this the reason for the sudden production rewrite fans had started noticing? Inside the Matlock fandom, the mood shifted from excitement to unease. The upcoming season, once a highly anticipated comeback, was now tainted with uncertainty. People wondered whether they could even enjoy the show, knowing what might have happened behind the scenes. But in the middle of the noise, some fans took a step back. They reminded others that this wasn't a TV plotline. It involved real people, real careers, and real pain. Still, in a world where outrage trends faster than truth, those voices were easily drowned out. The internet had made its judgment, a split verdict rendered in tweets, posts, and reaction videos. And while the fandom argued, production had to keep moving. The cameras didn't stop. The deadlines didn't wait. But while the internet argued, the show's creators faced an impossible choice: how to rewrite a story already filmed. When the dust settled, the cameras were still rolling, but everything behind them had changed. Matlock was built on precision. Every script, every line, every courtroom scene followed a tight rhythm. David Del Rio's character, Billy Martinez, wasn't just another supporting role. He was a core thread in the story, the young lawyer destined for fatherhood, the emotional heart of the next season. Removing him meant ripping pages out of the show's DNA. Inside the writer's room, chaos quietly turned into crisis management. Creator Jenny Snyder-Urman and her team worked overnight, rewriting dialogue, redistributing arcs, and restructuring episodes that were already filmed. Some scenes had to be cut entirely. Others were reshot with stand-ins and new angles to hide Del Rio's absence. What was supposed to be a story about redemption suddenly became one about resilience. Kathy Bates, the veteran anchor of the show, reportedly stepped in to steady the cast. Crew members said she reminded everyone that the show must go on, even when real life feels heavier than fiction. Her presence kept morale from collapsing, but even she couldn't erase the unease. Leah Lewis returned to work a week later. According to insiders, her professionalism never wavered, yet her energy on set had shifted. The camaraderie that once filled the courtroom scenes was replaced by an unspoken caution, the kind that lingers when everyone's pretending not to feel the weight of what just happened. Production carried on, but viewers will never know how many moments vanished in the edit lines that were cut, storylines that were rewritten, emotions that were too close to reality. Season 2 now had a new tone, sharper, darker, more introspective. What was meant to be a legal drama started to feel like an allegory for accountability. Outside the studio, executives worked to ensure advertisers and partners stayed calm. Internally, CBS framed the rewrite as a creative shift, never once acknowledging the scandal. To the public, it was just business as usual, but for those on set, it was survival. And while the courtroom of fiction was rebuilt, one question still echoed through every hallway, every call sheet, and every whispered conversation. What happens to David Del Rio now? Before the headlines, before Matlock, David Del Rio was the kind of actor Hollywood quietly respected. He wasn't a tabloid regular, not a headline chaser. He was the steady kind, the one who built a career brick by brick. From stage performances to television roles, earning a reputation for discipline and focus. Born in Miami, Del Rio started small. Theater, indie films, guest appearances. Casting directors often described him as professional, talented, and prepared. By the time he landed Matlock, it felt like his breakthrough moment. The kind of role that turns hard work into recognition. The kind that makes people finally remember your name. And for a while, it worked. Fans loved him. Critics called his performance subtle but magnetic. He played the kind of character that audiences root for, driven, clever, and deeply flawed. It mirrored what people saw in him off-screen, ambition with humility, confidence without arrogance. But Hollywood's light can be cruel. It illuminates everything. Even the cracks people try to hide. Those who knew Del Rio personally describe him as intense, focused to a fault. The kind of actor who lost himself in a role. Some admired it. Others thought it was dangerous. He didn't switch off easily, one colleague said. When the scene ended, he stayed in character longer than he should have. When the allegations surfaced, that intensity suddenly looked different. What once seemed like dedication started to feel like obsession. Friends said he went silent, calls unanswered, social media wiped clean, public appearances canceled. Within days, his PR team cut ties. His management followed soon after. For someone who had spent years trying to be seen, Del Rio vanished almost overnight. His name was removed from promotional materials, edited out of CBS press kits, replaced with quiet revisions. And yet, somewhere between sympathy and suspicion, the industry paused. Some insiders whispered that his story was a cautionary tale, a reminder that fame isn't a shield. Others wondered aloud if he'd ever work again. For now, Del Rio's Hollywood chapter is a question mark, one that may never be answered publicly. But while his name faded from the screen, Leah Lewis's story was only beginning to be heard. When the camera started rolling again, one face returned quietly to the set, Leah Lewis. There were no press statements, no emotional interviews, no long captions on social media, just professionalism. She arrived early, stayed focused, and carried on with the same determination that had made her a breakout star years earlier. But those who saw her said something about her presence had changed. There was still warmth in her smile, but it was steadier now. More guarded, like someone who'd learned that not every spotlight feels safe. For CBS, her return meant survival. For the crew, it meant a fragile sense of normalcy. But for Leah, it meant stepping back into the very place where everything had fractured and choosing to keep working anyway. It wasn't just courage. It was control. The quiet kind that doesn't ask for applause. Fans noticed the shift. On social media, people began praising her restraint, calling her grace under pressure. Old interviews resurfaced, clips where she talked about women in Hollywood finding their voice, standing up for fairness, and protecting their space. Those words suddenly felt prophetic inside the studio. Kathy Bates and the other cast members reportedly rallied around her. There was a sense of quiet solidarity, unspoken but understood. They couldn't erase what had happened. They could make sure it didn't define the show's future. By the time Matlock resumed full production, energy had changed completely. The series that began as a courtroom revival had turned into something else. A story about resilience. About standing firm when the world wants you to fall apart. Leah never commented publicly on the incident. Maybe she never will. In a world obsessed with statements and sides, her silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. Season 2 will air. The headlines will fade, and new scandals will eventually take their place. But for the people who lived through this, and for the fans who watched it unfold, this chapter will always linger as a reminder. Behind every Hollywood story are human lives, private battles, and strength that doesn't always make it to the screen. And maybe that's the real drama. Hollywood never shows how quickly fame, power, and silence can rewrite a person's life.